My name is Seth Weeks, and this is Untitled Conversations. Alright, so we're here with my boy Cole, with that man,
Yes, sir.
Newly married.
Newly married. As of March 4th.
What's that like?
Man, it's fantastic. Like I was telling, it makes it feel like everything, like you took your shades off and you see like new colors in the world. The grass is greener, the skies are bluer, but it's also at the same time like it makes little arguments that much bigger in a relationship, and it makes you have to be more in sync with your person like never before, because like the Bible says you have to cling to that person, and that's like I think one of the hardest things to do growing up. When I only lived with my parents, and she her parents were divorced, so she only lived with her mom, and having to let go of our parents and kind of cling on to each other and trust each other in the way, it's a very different thing, but it's also a beautiful thing at the same time.
Did both of y'all ever live outside of your parents' home before y'all lived together?
So
I know you did.
I did. This is actually, it's funny, this is my fourth time moving out. This is my fourth time moving out. I moved back in, I moved out, I moved back in, back and forth. But she went to Auburn University for 2 years.
Yeah.
So she lived out for 2 years, but then moved back home and stayed there ever since. So she had a lot more time with her mama than I had with mine. You know, I moved to Kansas for college. I moved back home. I moved to Las Vegas. I moved back home. I moved to Miami. I moved back home, and now I'm finally out of the house for good this time.
So listen, let me ask you about that. The switch from Garden City, Kansas, to Las Vegas, Nevada. What kind of culture shock? What was that like?
First of all, the culture shock in Kansas was like, wow. I remember I knew I was in Kansas when I was walking to class my first day, and I saw a tumbleweed rolling down the street, and I'm like, I'm in a Looney Tunes episode.
Wait, that's real?
Yeah. I was like, there's no way that I am here right now. And it smelled like crap, literally, because there's a slaughterhouse like a few miles down the road, and it was horrible, man. But moving like lifestyle changes, because I mean I was a college football player. You know, that was my dream, to make it to the NFL. God had different plans for me. Life panned out differently, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to give social media influencer a crap. You know, because it's either like, if you don't make it in football, you can only do two things: become a social media influencer or you rap. I mean, from this side of town, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do social media, and I moved to Las Vegas, and it was complete different like lifestyle, and I traded in my cleats for a camera, and it was different, man. But God like guided me in this awesome direction that I'm in now, and I really had to go through those two stages of my life to be at the one that I'm at now.
And by the way, the freestyle comes later. He's gonna rap too, don't worry. We're gonna bring the freestyle in later. But so that whole idea, because this is something for me now, kind of stepping into the role that God's blessed me with here recently, some of the people he's placed me around, I've started to see the difference in how people treat anyone who has some sort of platform, or anyone who has some sort of, presence in their minds, to whereas when you're walking everyday life, you feel no different. It's just a number. Yeah, I think that a lot of the time, and it really aggravates me, seeing people that I'm very close with be treated like this sometimes. Just the ideology and the thought process of seeing people more as an item just because of what they've attained. Or what they've gotten to. And when something goes wrong, they're treated like they're just simply something that they consume. And not an actual heart. Was there any moments for you where you felt like that, or you had to struggle with that, where it was just people not necessarily seeing you as a human?
It's seeing a lot of, and especially because I was in LA for a few months, it was really, what can I gain from this person? And that's how it was. A lot of the big creators that I met, and I connected really close with a lot of them, and I saw them for who they really were, not from what they were on a platform. But then you have the other people. You have like the serpents in the grass and everything that are like, okay, what can I get from this person? If I wanted to do, like, we had things called collab day, and if you didn't have as much followers, or they couldn't gain any followers from your platform, the video that they took with you, they wouldn't post it. Or if you went to like a party or anything, you had to have a certain amount of followers to get in the party.
Wow, I never knew that. That's
crazy.
Wild.
I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going anywhere. I had to have like connections to get me in to like meet certain people. but it's kind of like an unfair advantage. You know what I mean? Because the algorithm picks up certain people to make big, and other people who have as good content or even better won't make it because the algorithm hasn't picked them up yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a lose-lose game at the end of the day. Is what it feels like. You know?
For sure. Because I definitely I've experienced people's lives who have, they got the good side of the algorithm.
Yeah.
They caught so much, but I think it says a lot that it really doesn't fill a hole in your heart.
No.
It's not something that's gonna really bring you a crazy type of love. It can bring you some worldly things. Mm-hmm. It can bring you some amazing things in that area, but at the end of the day, all those things fade. And that's something me and you both know. And so I know that there was definitely times for you in that transition where you went through a lot. And that's like one of the reasons why I admire you the most is how you were able to walk through a lot of that stuff. And while you may have struggled at times of how you saw yourself, there was one man you never left and you never let go of. Mm-hmm. And that was God. What was your mindset in that time and sitting here now, married, getting things together, about to step into a whole new journey with God and what he's calling you into, taking that time to reflect? What does that look like for you?
Man, it's a blessing. Like, it's crazy how not once did God take his hand off my life, and the fact where, like I said before, I wanted to be a professional football player. Mm-hmm. Since the age of 8 years old, I looked at my mom and dad and said, I'm going to be in the NFL, and they pushed me every day to be in that journey. And then when I finally, out of high school, I had no offers. I had horrible test scores because that's why I had no offers. I had horrible test scores. So I had to go. Yeah, that's what it was. For the virtual school. So I had to go the JUCO route, last chance U type stuff. And I went to Garden City, Kansas, and COVID ended up taking away both of my seasons. So I had no film. I had the grades, but I had the opposite of what I had in high school. I had no film. So I completely went to try to do social media things because I saw my sister do it. My sister has a big following. I'm like, it couldn't be that hard. It turned out to be a whole lot harder. Depression really hit me. Depression was something I've struggled with since the age of 11. And suicidal thoughts didn't come till I was 15. I was in Las Vegas. I told my mom, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm 20. I was 20 years old at the time. And I said, listen, I'll give you to the age of 26. But at the age of 26, I'm out. I can't do it anymore. And she always said, life's going to get better. You just have to see. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like something you don't want to hear, but you needed to hear.
Yeah.
And then Vegas ended. Social media thing ended. I flew to Miami, and I moved there with my sister again. And within about a month of being there, I remember I got a call that my dad got sick with COVID. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, okay, he'll be fine. I had it 3 times. He'll be fine. And within getting the call that he had COVID, and 19 days later, he was gone. Mm-hmm. And that's when life really turned me upside down, thinking depression hit me even worse. I started to not doubt God, but doubt his plan and what was his purpose for all of this. I never doubted that he was real or he loved us. I was just like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm like, this man was the perfect disciple I've ever seen. And you've known him personally. I've never heard him cuss. I've never seen him drink. I've never even seen him doubt God. Wherever he took a step, it's because God told him to take them.
Absolutely.
And it took me a long time to finally understand and grasp that everything happens for a reason, and it was a plan. And I was never promised my entire life with my dad. I was only promised these 20 years. Mm-hmm. But God never took his hand off my life. Now I just moved into an apartment with my beautiful wife, and life is...
Shout out Gavin.
Yeah, shout out to Gavin. But life is just really starting to go up, and I've seen God's hand in everything that I've done to this point forward. And
that's real. And that's something for me, I remember the text from Jordan.
Yeah.
It's bad. He's, we're going in to say our goodbyes. Mm-hmm. And then Cole's not here yet.
Yeah.
And all of those things, in my mind, I was worried about everybody sad at the same time, wanting to be there for you guys. But the one thing I always remembered about him was there was never a doubt in his mind.
Never.
There was always a confidence. And that's something that I really admired, like I was saying earlier, that one of the main parts of me seeing your life and Jordan's life and Pastor Jennifer, Miss Jennifer, she always hates when I call her either of those. She just wants me to call her Jennifer, but I try to respect her. The way that all of you guys still walked in that belief and that confidence, you know, absolutely it was difficult. Absolutely it was hard. But y'all also knew that God had a plan. And that was one of my favorite parts inside of all of that. And that's one of the main reasons why you're the one wearing this collection. And you're looking at that stuff because the whole idea behind this collection is, you know, what does it mean when royalty loves me and how I view myself? The perspective of the Bible mentions so many times He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He is royalty, He is seated on His throne in heaven. Yet He is so infatuated with every single creation He made. Me, you, every other person. And the ideology behind how we're seen inside of life and how we view ourselves, like I was talking about in the beginning, how people view someone with a platform and how it's almost like it's an item, how we view other people as well as our internal perspectives on ourselves. How much more should we respect ourselves? How much better should we treat ourselves? How can we adopt the ideology and the outlook that God has on us?
Yeah.
You know, the things He does call us and all of that. And I truly feel like you guys have embodied that through whatever went down. You know, I've had heart-to-heart conversations with you when you were at the deepest points, asking me stuff, and I've seen, you know, even in those moments, there was no doubt that God was right there with you. Absolutely. And that you were there in every moment. It was incredible to really see that stuff. And so I want to switch it over a little bit and take it to a place where, like, you went through all of that and you're extremely grateful that God brought you through all of it. But I also know that you've been able to look back and learn from each and every one of those things. What are some of the lessons inside of that time for you that you feel like God used those moments to really shape you and mold you into the person you're sitting here as now?
I think definitely going into the new stage of my life, my parents always told me nothing happens, like nothing is a mistake that happens. Everything happens for a great plan that God is literally unfolding like in front of our eyes. So looking back, I didn't go to Kansas. Like, Kansas was not a waste of time. It's pretty much what it was. Because I learned that my favorite class was public speaking. And growing up with the parents I did who were pastors, I had this I liked it a lot. You know, I used to get up on stage and do morning announcements for my church, and I never got nervous, but my sister was shaking in her boots. Like, I'm like, this is easy. Like, I don't know if I could talk to a person one-on-one, but if you stick me in front of a bunch of people, I'm good. Because no one's responding back to me. So that was the only class I ever got 100 in. And it was the only class I never took notes in. I never did anything. I had 3 points. I literally had 3 words on paper that I would hit those points and I would kill it. Because I'm like, this is just natural to me. And so Kansas didn't happen for no reason. Vegas didn't happen for no reason, because I needed to pull myself out of that place to be able to speak into people's lives that were going through the same thing. You know, to be vulnerable with my feelings and my emotions and tell them like a way to get out, because I didn't see it, but now I do. And going through all the hurt that I went with relationships in the past really molded me to make myself the best person I could, because God knew Gavin was coming the entire time. I had no clue. He knew when she was coming and I didn't, but I knew I had to prepare myself to make me the best mentally, physically, and spiritually that I would be able to give my wife all of me instead of bits and pieces. And I had to love myself before I could love her. And that was the lessons in life, that nothing is on like for no reason at all. It was all for a purpose, and that whatever you're going through, like one of my favorite quotes is, grapes must be crushed into wine, diamonds form under pressure, and seeds grow in the dark. So if you ever feel crushed under pressure or in the dark, you're in a powerful place, a place of transformation. And that's pretty much what I was going through my entire life, was a place of transformation.
That's dope. I love that.